Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the ICCE, which is part of the ACE curriculum. ACE stands for Accelerated Christian Education, and ICCE is a qualification attached to that when the child reaches around level 8, basically. So if you're already using the ACE curriculum and have a child moving on to do like some kind of accredited qualification, then this video will be for you. Or maybe you're a parent. My daughter and my son have just finished a general level, which is equivalent to the IGCSE, and my daughter will be continuing with the intermediate level in September. So this video is for you as much as it is for me. Okay, so here are my 10 tips that will help you to prepare your child for the ICCE, the International Christian Certificate for Education. Let's go. Okay, tip 1, level 7. And level 7 paces start from 1073 up to 1084. If your child is working through any of these paces, I would say it's time to start getting advice, teach company, talk to them, register with them, get your training done, get their handbooks, and just start getting used to the processes that are involved with the ACE curriculum. Up until this point, you could just choose and just buy books as you would do any other curriculum. But I'm saying at this point now, at level 7, it's time to really decide for yourself if this is the direction you want to go through for those upcoming years. You still have the flexibility at this stage of choosing which subject your child will be doing. You can pick and choose maybe to do maths, maybe to do English. But because your child is at level 7, I would suggest that you do all the subjects at this point, because that will prepare them for when they go on to do the ICCE curriculum. At level 7, I'd say make sure that your child is working accurately through all their pacework, that they're understanding what's required of them. Make sure that you are fully understanding the marking criteria, when to take off half marks, when to take off whole marks, and that you're really, up to date with the different procedures. If you haven't done any training and you feel like you need to or you would like to, get in touch with the offices. If you go to teachathome.education, you can find out how to get in touch with them to find out more about training and different registrations. When they get to the end of level 7, you would apply to go for the ICCE, and your children will be invited to have a telephone interview, and they'll just want to find out a bit more about your child, what they want to do and what their strengths are. It's almost like careers advice, where your child gets to really think a bit more about what is out there and what sort of paces that they might want to do that will help them to get into their direction. So for my family, when my children had their telephone interviews, I already kind of had a rough idea where they'd want to go, but they were able to talk to somebody else on the phone that's not just their parent, and they would ask questions, he would ask them questions, and he would tell them, maybe consider trying these paces, maybe try and consider doing these electives. They would talk about things like Rosetta Stone or other alternative curriculums that they could go on. So if your child is interested in computing, they might talk about computer courses that your child could go on. But it's really, really good at having that dialogue with somebody that already works in this field and know more about the curriculum. Okay, tip 3, the enrolment process and additional fees. Okay, so even though you've registered your child on the ACE curriculum already at Teach at Home, you would have paid like £160 for the year. There is an additional fee to enrol your child on the ICCE. I can't remember the exact fee, but I'll put a price over here once I find out how much it will be to enrol on the ICCE. So just be aware there's a bit more cost involved with the ICCE, but as long as you're aware, then it doesn't take you by surprise. And with the enrolment process, you would just need to email the office and let them know that you'd like to enrol your child on the ICCE. They will send you all the forms via email, and you can always call them up and speak on the phone if you have any further questions about the enrolment process. The website that's more beneficial to you, the one that you'll be working on the most, would be teachathome.education, and you can click on there for things like shop support, how to get started. It tells you a bit more about the curriculum and things like that. But when you enroll for the ICCE, the website that you need to get your head around a bit more and to use much more would be ICCE.education, and this one's more involved towards students who are doing the ICCEs. I found that out a bit late, but had I known that earlier, it would have been easier for me to know that this is a website to focus on more than the other website that I mentioned as well. Tip number 4. For my tip number 4, I would say start thinking a lot about ESE. ESE stands for the European Student Convention. Now, you don't have to go to this convention, but I would highly recommend it. We've been there 2 times now, and once as a day visitor, and my children have really enjoyed it both times. I do think that if you plan it into your year, it's easier for you to start preparing for the many events that your child might want to participate in. So start really thinking about the ESE events. I have a video over here where I talk about my experience with the ESE with my children. There's a video over here where the children talk about their experiences of it, And I've also got a video over here where I talk about the ACE in general, which also has a little bit in there about the ESE. But with the ESE, your child might be involved in making things, like if they're making dresses or cushions or construction tools. If they had spaced out from September all the way to the ESE event, they'd have a lot more time to really focus and prepare for it. So really start thinking about whether or not you would like to invest in going to ESE. There's another one you can go to as well called Teach Camp, but it's not the same. Tip number 5, this tip is about the ICCE downloadable portal. Now, as I mentioned before, the website that you'll be more in tune with at this point will be ICCE.education. And on that website, there is a downloadable link that you have to click on and type a login code into, which will give you access to the back end, which gives you all the moderation forms in there. It's got all the information about essay writing and science experiments and all the requirements that you need as a supervisor. If you download that early at the beginning of the year, then it will help you as you progress through the year to have all the documentation there, to have enough time to read through it. But you will definitely need to understand if there has been any updates. You need to work it out, and the only place to really know about it is from the downloadable portal. I can't emphasize enough how important this is for you to understand what it is that you're doing and for you to get your child ready for the next stages that are coming towards the end of the ICCE general level. So make sure that you fully understand the downloadable portal. If you don't understand how to use it, call the office and get advice about how to use it. Tip number 6. This tip deals with how you're going to send off your paces. You can choose the fast track option or the original option. With the fast track option, this is where you'll be scanning your children's work and sending it over to the moderators online. With the original option, this is when you'll just be marking the children's work and sending it off in the post. I decided to do the fast track option with my children, but I didn't know how much stress it would be. If I do it again, I would still choose this option, but I would make sure that I'm aware of it and make sure that I'm prepared from the very beginning. So with this option over here, you have to make sure that your child is doing certain things, which I will be explaining a bit more as I go through the other tips. But just make a decision from the beginning which one of those you're going to do. I recommend fast track because you also have to send off the paces anyway for the fast track, but at least this way you can get the qualification back to your child really easy. But you have to be a little bit computer savvy to choose this option. Tip number 7 is creating folders on your computer as well as looking at the SARs sheet. SARs stands for Student Assessment Record Sheet, and this is what you need to send over to show what your child has achieved in all of their paces. This is really important as it gives an ends mark at the end, which tells you roughly what your child is working on. So each mark is out of 100 per subject, okay? So in each pace, your child will get 80% up to 100%, and you have to write down that percentage at the bottom of each stage. I'll show you what I did on my computer over here.
Okay, so the SARS sheet looks like this. As you can see in the left-hand column, under column A, it's got a list of all the subjects down there. And then you'll probably notice under B, C, D, E, F, all the way through, there's a number. That number corresponds to the pace number that the child will be doing. And you have to just input the percentage mark that they get at the end of each pace. Then you'll be given a file called a Zoho work file, and this is where you have to add all their scanned copies of their work in there. So this is a folder that I set up for my daughter, and I've just labelled the folders with 1 to 16 so that it can be uploaded in order. I uploaded 16 first, so it goes to the bottom, 15 second, 14 third, and so and so. So it has a nice order, and I can find everything that I need after. So this is just there to show you what it looks like. I hope that helps.
Number 8 would be to make sure that you store your scores. Tip number 8 would be to make sure that you store your score keys and your test keys in really good places. I like to have my test keys stored separate from the children so that they don't have access to them. So they'll have to ask me, Mum, I'm ready for my test, now can I have my test? I can give them the test at that point once I've taken back the marking scheme and once I've taken back their paces. We normally will do the work the day before, and then the testing will come the next day just to make sure they've remembered a lot of the information. But I would say make sure that you store it in a good place. I have a filing cabinet that I can store lots of my paces in, but that's not the way it really always works. I've got paces everywhere. As you can see over here, paces were everywhere. But yeah, if you're better than me, make sure you store them properly, maybe a filing cabinet, but lock away the test keys and make sure that you're the only one who has access to the test keys and the test. Tip number 9 is to make sure that you're marking your child's work with a green pen. I don't know why they've chosen green, but green is the colour that they've chosen, and it just shows that you're the supervisor, you're the what. Anything that's green means that you did it, basically. So when you're marking their work with a little cross, it'll be a green pen. When you're writing your signature on the paper, it'll be green pen. So just make sure that you use green pen. And tip number 10 which probably is the most important tip, will be speed and figuring out how long you have before you get to do your ICCE qualification. Because you're doing 2 levels in one qualification, it does take a long time. There's a lot more things that you need to work on, a lot more forms to fill in, a lot more procedures to follow. It does take a lot longer than it would have done pre-level 8. So I would say have a goal in mind about how long your children have in terms of doing the ICCE. If you have a child in year 10 already starting the ICCE, they're going to have to be doing a lot of paces in order to get through the work, and it is a lot of work. Honestly, there's so much work in there. It's not easy. People think that just because you're home educated your children that maybe it's a bit easy, but it isn't. I think in some ways it's harder than doing an IGCSE in terms of your own self, because you're taking on all the responsibility of the marking and you know, you're moderating the work really before it gets moderated by somebody else. You're basically acting like the teacher, the examiner, the everything. You're basically just doing everything. But when my child was doing the GCSE, all we had to really do is buy the books. He had to revise the books. I would book him at the centre, and that was it. I'll just go there and just do the work. But obviously I didn't want that for my children, because I wanted my children to have a Christian upbringing. So I'm not moaning. I feel like I'm always feeling a bit like, okay, it sounds like I'm moaning about the curriculum. I'm not moaning at all, and I would definitely recommend it for everybody to do the ICCE curriculum. There isn't much Christian influence within our society as much as there used to be, and I think things like this, raising up children who are ready to commit to the Lord and celebrate the Lord, trumps everything else I know. But I just need to be prepared for it. The main thing of this video is about the preparation of the video. So make sure that you have enough time, you've set enough time aside for your child to complete the paces. Don't be lax, don't be lenient. Make sure that they're covering their goals every day. If they don't cover their goals every day, then give it to them for homework, but be a lot stricter in terms of their goal keeping and your goal setting if you have a plan of what they need to by the time September comes. Many people within the homeschool community will say things like, well, you have enough time to do it, and I just don't think it's true, especially for the A.C.C.E curriculum. Maybe with other curriculums it's true. I know that maybe with unschooling it's a very different style of learning, it's probably true, but I'm talking about parents like me who've chosen a box in curriculum. You don't have as much time as you think you have, and also the quicker you can get it done, the better for your child. So I would think that if I could go back and do it again, I would try to make sure that all my kids went up to intermediate level, but the only way for that to happen would be they had worked a lot faster at the beginning to get to the intermediate level. So you don't have as much time as they say you do. You've heard it here. I approve this message. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. God bless. I just want to add, in terms of the time, for tip number 10, it is true that you have a lot of time if you're not worried about your child going to school. That's what I wanted to say. If you're going to go through the whole curriculum from the very basic level all the way up to advanced, you have the time, because it doesn't matter what time you go to university at that stage. But if you want your child to go to college or sixth form at 16 years old like their peers, then you don't have as much time. That's more what I'm talking about. If you're not worried about any of that, then you do have as much time as you need. Okay? I hope that makes sense.